2020, and it's almost 10 minutes till 10 a.m. in London when we're doing this market update. My name is Alejandro Zambrano, and we're going to talk about the markets. There have been some significant moves as the market just opened for the new week, and I'm talking about crude oil, but as well, you've seen some big moves in the DAX. You've also seen some big moves in US stock markets and the yen pairs. We're going to talk a bit about that. And we're actually going to begin by talking about the headline news, which, as you know, is crude oil, which had a massive move, guys, but it's also a big opportunity to get involved here on the right side of things here, of course. So we're going to talk about that. If you do have any questions, just put them in the chat box, and I'll try to do my best to try to help you. We got True Invention in the chat. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're staying safe. We should not forget that we're still dealing with that coronavirus crisis that is influencing the world, and we had a lockdown of northern parts of Italy. I was like 16 million people locked down. It's gonna be more of that. I'm quite confident about that, unfortunately. But let's talk about the markets right now. All right, guys. So what actually happened here? What's going on here with crude oil? Okay, so let's flip to the weekly. So we've been bearish here, as you know, right? And we had this massive rectangle pattern that I mentioned to you guys, and it pretty much looks like this, where we could just draw a line like that and then a line like that. And then the idea was the difference between these lines. We're gonna get that. We got that. I think the target was here somewhere. Of course, if you book profits already on Friday, guys, you know, good job, man. Good job trading there, because no one really know exactly what was going to happen. And this is Friday's close. No one really knows exactly that this was going to happen. So why did this happen then? Very straightforward. Russia and OPEC, which is the group of oil producing countries, had an agreement to keep production limited to support prices. And what happened here is that they had new negotiations over the weekend where they wanted to, or Saudi Arabia wanted to reduce crude oil production. I think it was maybe 4% of production to support prices. But the Russians on Friday said that, you know, they didn't want to do this, and that after April 1st, everybody could do whatever they wanted. So the Saudis didn't like this, and then they said, okay, guys, if you guys want to do the price war game and produce war game, we're the biggest guys around. We have the lowest costs. So what they said is that they provided a discount of $8 per barrel of oil. So these discounts have been around for some time. So this is Brent crude oil, which is the international benchmark. So traditionally, just to give you an idea, so imagine, you know, last week or so, for the price trading at $50. So OPEC, Saudi Arabia would usually give you like a $2 discount. So it's not 50, but you can buy it at 48 from us. All right. Now what they did, well, we're gonna give you a $8 discount. All right, between 8 and 10, something like that. So then instead, you know, why would people be buying it at the international price of 50 when they can just go to Saudi Arabia and buy it for $8 to $10 cheaper? And that's why the price slid the way it did, and that's why it gapped the way it did, and we moved down. But if you look at this from a big picture perspective, and if we actually go back to US oil, because I prefer US oil right now, then from a purely trade perspective, we know that when the market gaps, so on Friday, the price closed here. So on Friday, the price closed at 41.89, 59. So when the market gaps, so when it trades from here and then starts trading around 32 or so, which it did, then the market will try to close that gap. And everybody can also say that a slide of, you know, something like, how many percent is this? A slide of, you know, 33% is a big thing. It is a big thing. This is not Bitcoin. You can't use Bitcoin at some places. You can definitely not use crude oil and everywhere, but crude oil is something we need. Like, just to run this webinar, I need electricity. I need energy. That's what crude oil gives to you. So when stuff like this declines the way they do, people want to go in and they want to have make some quick money on the bounce. So if you look at this from a big picture perspective, this is the way my game plan is. So you have this low here. That low is the 2016 low, and it's also the lowest level we saw in quite some time in this market. You need to go back, well, below that low, you need to go back here in 2003 to find lows. So this is an important low, and just because of the sheer drop of this market, it would not have been, personally I think so, it would not have been a bad idea to buy at the lows here. If you bought a bit earlier like I did, I bought here somewhere, then that would not have been a bad idea either. Because the idea is this needs to snap back up again, cover the gap, and then potentially go lower again. So this is what I'm looking at today. If this market does not close this gap, so unless it goes straight up like that, if it goes just straight up and it goes to something like 38.83, I think people will try to sell here. The alternative, it goes down, it comes really close to something like 129.15, 28, and then bounces from here. That's what I reckon. So if it will come down immediately just like that, then I'm happy to be bullish from this level, and I'm going to be bullish as long as we trade above the 2016 low, which is at 125.20.97. So say we trade above $25 a barrel. As long as we trade below that level, I think we go down and then we go up. On the other hand, if it just goes up like this to 35, 37, then I think from here people are going to sell again, and then they're going to attack the low, because from a trend following perspective, we're still dealing with a downtrend. And this is the level. Remember, this is what we said to sell in the past. We said look to sell here, and then when it went up I said look to sell here, and that's the last major high. And that's as well why the risk reward ratio is good, because this is the last major high, which is far, far, far away, and the nearest major low is just here at 25.97. So I'm actually short-term bullish in this market. Now, if we take a look at the euro, so we'll go back to the currency markets. There hasn't been too much of activity. I mean, it has gone up, but it hasn't been like a huge move. It's still definitely bullish, and I want to continue to be bullish as long. I will continue to be bullish as long as the price trade about 110.92, which is this level here. So we might go down, but I think from these levels here, we're probably going to go upwards again, push like that. Okay. GBP versus the USD. So we did trade above that trend finding level. This one that I was watching, I think it was this level here. Now it rallied. It hasn't had any strong correction. Nothing really hasn't corrected at all. So I'm very careful here with this market. I actually want to be neutral because it rallied a lot. You have all these different highs. At the same time, though, I don't want to be buying here, but I don't want to be selling here because I don't want to trade against this trend. It's the same thing here with the euro. The euro, took out this high here, went up to the next high. It did trade above this high here at 14.14. It might go up now to 15.67. So I think we can go up, so I think we can go up, but I don't want to be selling here, even though we have not had a strong correction for a very long time. How about gold? So this is gold. And gold is bullish. I do not remember exactly the levels I shared with you guys on Friday because I lost my analysis. But the trend is bullish above 1631, and from about 1659, that will be a 61.8% correction from this low to this high. I think people are going to be buying. So from here, I think we can go upwards again. It's a risky world there, and for now, it makes sense to continue to be long. How about the German DAX then? The German DAX, unfortunately, this thing did trade below that August 16 low, which was here somewhere. In fact, it gapped all the way down. And for now, the market is down by 5.92%. The trend defining level is up here. So I took a fib from this high to this low. And I think if we do go up to something like 11,361, I think the market is going to try to sell here and go back again. At the same time, a bit like with crude oil and all this stuff, if you're a bit of a risk taker, the markets declined very quickly and it bounced from this long-term low. And of course, if you bought here, you maybe are riding it a little bit upwards, and maybe we'll come back down again here. as the as trading starts in the US, so we might go down again. So it might potentially be possible to do a bit of a contrarian move here as well, where our stops are just below, and then if we go up, you make a 1.6 times risk reward ratio. So that is also possible. The level here is 10,600. If you want to stay safe, just go with the trend, which is just to wait for that corrective move. As for the S&P 500, so you might remember we said look to sell here and here. And we were down here on Friday ahead of the non-farm payrolls, and I said probably a good idea to book profits. I still stand by that. No one knew exactly what was going to happen over the weekend. Of course, if you're stuck with your short positions, congratulations. Now you might wonder, why hasn't nothing happened here? Well, the reason for this is that in the futures market, in the overnight market, there is a limit. So if the market declines with more than 5% or gains with more than 5%, then they stop trading in this market. And what's happening here, I think, is that that's exactly what happened, and that's why there's really no activity in this market right now. I don't know exactly when they're going to open up again. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I can tell you that the trend is bearish below 3003, and if we swing back up to these levels, something like 29.24, then the market is going to be bearish. Finally, dollar yen. So the dollar yen, so we had a bit of a bullish bias here, but as you know, the price traded below support, and from that point we got stopped out. I think this happened already on the 5th. It's just that on Thursday already. So what can I say about this thing? Well, it slid quite a lot, but we triggered a massive descending triangle, and we can draw trend lines like that, and then we do like this, and then we add it like that. So this market could potentially continue to trade even lower in the days ahead. I think though this could be a sufficient target, like 99.77 followed by 95.88. If you look at this in the short term, you also had that gap has not been filled, and as long as I think it's traded below this level, it makes sense to be bearish. And here I would wait for a close of that gap. So if it goes up to 104 or something like that, maybe one can go bearish again and see what happens here. Then we can probably target the downside here. Okay, let's see if you guys have any questions. Antonio Jimenez is saying, good morning, Alex. Crazy moves. Yes, I agree. Definitely crazy moves. The best thing we can do here as traders, be careful with risk over the weekend, and so preferably only trade Monday to Friday or Sunday evening till Friday evening, and be careful with the position sizing. The markets go crazy now, and you need to put stop losses further away. So the natural thing to do is to reduce the trade size we do. So if you trade with the normal trade size, you'll see our count move much faster than usual. So it's important to reduce the risk. So Chris is asking, can we take a look at the South African Rand? Sure, let's take a look at the South African Rand. And then we have Indian stuff. He's asking about the Aussie dollar versus the Swissy, so we can do that. So everybody that asks questions, I'm perfectly fine to answer one question per person. And then we have silver. So you got a question about silver, South African Rand, and Aussie dollar Swissy. I'm taking the Aussie dollar Swissy because I guess this is what you're most interested in. So we'll get a question. Is crude oil good for the US? Good question. I would need to do some analysis on that. I think one issue with lower crude oil prices is that the US has become a net, I think pretty much neutral when it comes down to crude oil imports. Before, it used to be a big impact, and lower, stronger dollar would make crude oil imports cheaper. So, but now they produce a lot, Don't remember exactly what the trade balance is on the back of that and everything, but I think what people are talking about right now is that there's a lot of shale oil producers, they use fracking to produce oil, and they can extract oil from places where before it wasn't really affordable, and this caused oil to slide big in 2014 because they just produce so much oil. And what people are saying now that a lot of these companies, they need higher crude oil prices. So in fact, when the crude oil prices decline, some of these companies get into financial troubles. So I don't necessarily think it's good, but I don't necessarily think it's necessarily gonna be something that people are gonna focus on heavily just because crude oil prices are down. I don't think people are gonna have a very bullish or a very bearish view on the dollar. At least that's the way I view it. Okay, so we got a question about dollars to African rand. So let's take a look at the dollars to African rand. Okay, so I think this one obviously spiked, and it spiked because of the big move we saw in the markets. And this is, with a little bit of imagination, we can see here that this is a descending triangle. So that pattern broke already here, I think 2 weeks ago. So if you use this to figure out the target, then you do like that, and then you have that as a target, which we pretty much almost reached. Now the market has come down quite aggressively, and if you take fib from the very low to the very high, you can see we pretty much closed the gap. This is what I was talking about. Market goes up, but then they want to close the gap, and I would actually be a buyer here rather than a seller. And this is the breakup point from that big pattern. In the short term though, this is, here is your trend finding level. So as long as you trade above this level here, which is 15.19, then this is gonna be a bullish uptrend and we can go up again. The question is this though, is crude oil sustainable at these levels? Is it gonna be here? Like this is a 100% crude oil move, as far as I understand it. And I think that, I personally think crude oil is going to bounce a bit. So maybe this will be further suppressed. So in fact, I'm actually going to push it down like that. And you could have a hard retest of this. So you can go all the way down. But as long as you trade above 15.19, I think this can go up again. Because the markets, stock markets are coming down. People are panic. In the case of coronavirus, at least Europe and Italy has learned its lesson now and might start to close down bigger parts of their of the economy and the area. But I'm not sure, like in the US, as far as I understand it, they had problems getting enough kits to even test people. So I think in the US that situation probably have just started, and there could be a risk that it could escalate over there. On the other hand, President Trump, you know, I think he can swiftly close down all flights and so on if he really wanted to. So I think there could be more quicker and faster measures over there. So maybe they will be able to contain it, but the way it looks right now, the show will go on. So the virus show will go on, right? So the virus will continue to infect people until they do things like I just did in Italy, which it did in China in the past. But you have Europe, you have all these countries as well, not Europe, Germany and France and Spain, that are not doing too much now, and they could definitely do more. So we got a question about Aussie dollar versus the Swissy, and so Aussie dollar versus the Swissy. Okay, so this one has corrected already a big chunk of its losses, and I think this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with just a shock to the system, and it's usually not a very good idea to trade immediately on a day like this. You could try to buy on the extreme levels, buy here if you wanted to. Now, from a purely technical perspective, you can sell here, so you can sell here, and then let it go down again. That's the most natural thing for it to happen. But sometimes what happens is that If crude oil starts to go up and goes up and up and up and up, then this is probably gonna just push all the way up. So you need to be careful. But for now, the trend is definitely bearish below 63.50. Then we got a question about silver, and silver has been struggling to do anything. So silver is in a big rectangle. So you have some support here at 16.50, and then you have some resistance here at 18.73. And if we trade below the low here from the month, so if we trade below 16.37, then that would be a bearish signal, and we can go down probably to this low here at 15.89, and then probably down to this high, and then down here. So, but the ultimate target is 14.29. If you do want to buy something because you think, you know, I wouldn't be betting on silver to catch up with gold. If you just want to buy because you think gold makes sense too, because people are afraid and you want to do that, then you just buy gold. Don't try to buy silver hoping that it's going to catch up. Because silver as well, I don't remember the ratios, but it's used in like in the general industry, right? So there's a demand from that as well. I don't know how much that is, but it's more of an industrial metal. It's not like gold where people just keep it to store their wealth. So I wouldn't assume that this is gonna roar up or soar up just because gold is positive. Okay, so we got a question about New Zealand dollar. So let's take a look at that. That's gonna be the last question we're gonna answer today. I can tell you like this, I don't have a strong view on the New Zealand dollar. The thing, I don't know actually what happened here, but this is I think what could happen with some of the markets. You got that aggressive slide, and then you got that aggressive move to the upside. And that's why, for example, in the dollar Swissy, if crude just goes up a little bit and people start to relax, it will correct. And we can go all the way up to where we started. So I think that's a little bit what we're dealing with here. And here in this specific situation, let's give this another 24 hours. This is the high, and I think it's probably going to go up and up and up and up and up, and it's probably going to try to take out the high, and then it's going to come down again, and then it's going to settle. But if tomorrow we're still below 63.74, this market could probably trade a little bit lower and reach something like 61.94, but there's not a great trading opportunity here, guys. The only good trading opportunity was down here when the market spiked. If you really quickly, you could have bought a bit, and then this whole thing spiked upwards. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap things up. Don't forget to like the video. If you do have any questions for me, I'm available via AlexFX00. That's my Twitter. So let's do that if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, you guys, and thanks so much for watching.